Hi everyone. Let's take a look at using an Excel function called the CountIf function. The CountIf function is basically how we get frequency when we are using qualitative data. So remember, qualitative is a quality where quantitative is usually something that can be measured. So lots of times qualitative data is words. So if I want to know how many times, if my data is male versus female, and I want Excel to count the number of males and the number of females, then I can't use the frequency function. It's just for numbers. So I have to use the CountIf function. So we're going to use one of our chapter 2 data files called golf clubs. So if you want to follow along, then just go ahead, pause the video, and open up your data file from chapter 2, golf clubs. Okay, once you get your file open, don't forget to click this enable editing button because you can't do anything until you do. I'm going to zoom a little bit to make it easier for y'all to see. Okay, so in this data file, we've got customer numbers, the brand of golf clubs, and the age of the people who purchased them. For this example, I'm just concerned about the brand of golf clubs. I want to find out how many people bought TaylorMade, how many people bought Callaway, and how many people bought Nike. Now, later we're going to learn something called a contingency table or a pivot table where we could put all this data into one chart. But for now, I only care about the brand. So just to make this not confusing, I'm going to highlight this A column and delete it. I'm going to highlight this age column and delete it. So now we just have the information that we are going to be working with. Now, the first thing I would do is I would highlight from this first word, TaylorMade, or this first brand, not the label at the top, all the way down to the bottom, so down to 101, and I would go ahead and I would sort these from A to Z. So see, now it grouped together all my Callaways, all my Nikes, and all my TaylorMade. This way, if you had a lot more data or a lot more brands, you wouldn't be searching through trying to figure out what they were. You could just scroll through and they would all be grouped, okay? So just like with frequency, I've got to tell Excel what I want it to count. So I'm wanting to count the brands. So my classes, or my bins, as Excel calls them, are going to be my brands. So right here, I'm going to put Callaway, Nike, and TaylorMade. Okay. Now, could I have typed these over here in the B cells? Sure, I could have. Doesn't matter. I just skipped one. Okay. Now, to do the CountIf function, I'm going to highlight the cell or place my cursor in the cell beside my first bin, which in this case is Callaway. I'm going to type in equals to tell Excel that I'm using a formula, and I'm going to start typing count. And see, there's lots of different count options. I want to use CountIf, so I can either keep typing or I can just double click it in the list. So just like before, it shows me what it wants me to put in the formula. It wants me to put the range. So where is my data? So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to highlight all the way down from A2 to A101, everywhere I have my data. So that's where I'm wanting it to look. And then I need a comma. Let me scroll back up here to the top. Very important, don't forget your commas, okay? And I want to tell it the criteria. So think about this. I'm telling Excel, I want you to count this if it says Callaway. So my criteria will be C2. So count everything from A2 to A101 if it has the word Callaway in it. I hit enter, and it tells me there are 32 times where the brand of golf clubs purchased were Callaway. Now, once I did this, I can just copy my formula to Nike and TaylorMade. But remember, when I copy a formula, I have to decide if I want relative references or absolute references. For my data points, I want those to be absolute, right? Every time I want it to look in A2 through A101. So how do I make these absolute references so that when I copy the formula, it will not change? Remember? Yeah, that's right. I have to put a $ in front of my column and a $ in front of my row. So I put $A, $2 to $A, $101. Now, do I need $ for my C2 reference, the block where it says Callaway? Nope, because I do want that to change. I want it to count Nike, then I want it to count TaylorMade. So I'm done with my changing my references, hit enter. Obviously 32 is still 32, didn't change the answer. That's a good thing. So now I can use my little box and I can drag that formula to my other two cells, let go. And now it told me there were 26 times where Nike was purchased and 42 times where TaylorMade was purchased. So this gives me my frequency. Oops, and I didn't spell that right, did I? It's hard to type on camera. It's like when somebody's looking over your shoulder. Okay. So frequency. We also know how to do relative frequency and cumulative relative frequency. I'm not going to show you that again, but you can look back in the previous videos from chapter 2 if you need to know how to do that. Now that I have my frequency, maybe I'm done. Or maybe I need to put this in some type of chart. Remember, we used histograms when we were using quantitative data. But for qualitative data, we're just going to use a bar chart, which basically looks the same, but we go to a little different place to insert it. Anytime I want to insert anything into a document, I have to go up here and I have to click on Insert. And I can insert pivot tables, illustrations, charts, and here's a whole bunch of different kind of charts. Maps, I got all sorts of options here, okay? I can insert symbols, I can insert text. We want to do a bar chart. So I'm going to look over here in the charts area and I see a bar chart. And you notice if I hover my mouse, if you're like, how did she know that was a bar chart? If I hover my mouse over any one of these, it shows me what they are, okay? So see how it's changing and it's telling me, I just want a good old bar chart. And so I click, and then I even have more choices. I can do all sorts of different bar charts. And like everything else with statistics, there's not always just a perfectly right or a wrong answer. Oops. So let's just pick one. Now, before we pick it, let's go ahead and highlight what I want to put in my chart. I want it to put Callaway, Nike, TaylorMade, and the frequency of each one. So let's go up here and click bar chart. And let's look at some different examples. Notice how I can hover my mouse and it shows me how they're going to look. So let's just do a plain old two-dimensional bar chart. Now, unlike the histogram, it did not insert this into a different page. And since I'm super zoomed in, let me change the size of that so y'all can kind of see it better. So here is my bar chart. I can do all sorts of customizations, just like I did with histograms. I can change the title. I can change these numbers. I can click over here and I can format. I can change the color. I can change the style. I can filter it by different things. So just play around like you did with the histogram and make the chart look the way that you want it to look. Any questions? Think about them. Let me know, comment, bring them to class. Thanks for watching, and I will see y'all soon.